What's up, weirdos? It's Thursday. You know what that means. We're here with another episode. I'm Christopher, and as always, I'm joined by...
I'm Mackenzie.
And I'm Sarah.
And this podcast is for weirdos.
Hey, Chris, why are we wearing hats?
We have a fun topic today. We're going to talk about the Hatman.
Oh, my God.
What a good bit. We're doing a good bit.
Hatman.
Hatman on a t-shirt.
On a T-shirt.
Your mic is kind of covering. There you go. Hatman.
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 He's
Hatman.
attacking a teen
Ah.
on her computer. Hooray.
Crazy. Hooray.
At some point, we will take our hats off. Probably.
We're going to get tired of the hats.
We're
and,
going to
like,
get
take
tired of
them
the
off.
hats. They are heavy. Mackenzie's is wonky because it's my old work cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do y'all know about the Hatman?
I know the little bit that I talked about in the hauntings episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's generally more of like an urban legend kind of thing rather than like a specific entity.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying. He's behind me. I was trying to reach him.
The Hatman?
We have a little Hatman figure. I know that he exists. I know that he probably is also not necessarily a real entity, but also is a very odd thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know sleep paralysis is involved.
Yeah.
Or drugs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
sleep medicine.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. Sleep
Por qué
paralysis
no los
induced
dos?
by drugs. I'm already going to lose my hat because it's making my head hurt.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start a little bit differently. I'm going to start by debunking it,
Amazing.
and then we're gonna go backwards.
Hell yeah.
What a great way to do this.
Yeah.
How fun.
I'm just laying out the roadmap for y'all.
Yeah.
We love a roadmap.
Mm-hmm. We're starting by debunking and then going, wait a minute.
But what if?
But what if there's something else going on?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were right in bringing up sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep paralysis is generally what the Hatman is associated with. People
Okay.
call the Hatman a sleep paralysis demon.
One of many.
One of many, but is generally pretty common and is very recognizable now because of social media, specifically TikTok,
And Reddit.
and Reddit.
Yeah.
So what is happening in sleep paralysis? Your body undergoes several different sleep cycles of sleep while you are asleep. One of those being REM sleep, rapid eye movement.
Wiggle your eyeballs.
Yeah, your eyeballs are shooting back and forth, even though your eyelids are closed.
That's when dreams happen.
That is when dreams happen. And so at this point in sleep, sometimes your body and brain can get out of sync with each other, and your body wakes up, but your brain is essentially still asleep
And dreaming.
and dreaming. And so you can open your eyes, but often you're paralyzed because your brain is not controlling your body, but your body is awake.
Right.
And so you cannot move, your muscles are not moving. And it will often mean that you cannot speak because your muscles are not moving, your muscles are asleep with your brain, but you are awake. So it is absolutely terrifying. That's gotta be a scary experience.
I have never really experienced sleep paralysis. Don't know that I want to.
No.
So we talked about this can I tell
Yeah,
you
go
a
ahead.
story? We talked about this very briefly in the hauntings episode because we talked about demons and the Hatman came up and combination of demons and shadow figures. And I said, I don't think I've ever experienced sleep paralysis. And then you guys were like, I don't think I have either. And then I went, I kind of want to. And then I think I cut out of the actual episode me having a moment where I realized I have had sleep paralysis.
Huh.
And I didn't tell you guys about it because we wanted to, like, finish that episode because it
Uh-huh.
was a longie of recording.
Yeah.
I told my mom about this on New Year's Day, I think, like before y'all
Okay.
got here. And I was like, I think I have experienced sleep paralysis. And she went, when?
Ooh.
And I was like, at the old house in Waco. So the first house we lived in. So I was like between 9 and 14 when this was happening because that was how long we lived in that house. The way my room was, you'd come in the door of my room, and on that same wall was my closet door. And then I would there was a chair in my bedroom because I had like a desk, and my chair would often be bedroom door, closet door, in between those desk.
Yeah.
And my chair would be not under my desk; it would be turned out, and all of my clean clothes would be on that chair. And I remembered this happened a couple of times, and I was like, "Oh, I just had a bad dream." Like when I woke up, I was like, the next morning, I was always like, "Oh, it was just a nightmare."
Yeah.
But now that I have the context of what sleep paralysis is, I was like, "Oh no, I was experiencing sleep paralysis."
Yeah.
So I would be on my side, I would wake up, I'd open my eyes, and I'd see the like pile of clothes on the chair, and I'd be like, "Oh, that kind of looks like a person." And I'd be like, "Oh, that really looks like a person," and then the person would stand up.
Ooh.
And walk towards my bed, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't scream. Nothing could happen. I was like, I can't do anything about this. And then I would end up falling back asleep. And then I'd wake up the next morning and be like, that was a really weird nightmare.
Crazy.
And it happened a couple of times. And I was like, I wonder why, because like sleep paralysis is often when you're taking sleep aids. I'm sure you're going to talk about that. And I was like, what was I taking? Like a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think that was when I first, because when we moved to Waco was when I started having really bad seasonal allergies. And I was like, I wonder if that was like when I started having to take Benadryl every night.
Maybe.
Was when that was happening. And so I was taking
A Benadryl.
which is not a sleeping medication, but the side effect is it makes you sleepy.
Yeah.
And because it was new to my system, now I take Benadryl every fucking night because I have a cat that I live with that I'm allergic to, and I'm allergic to the world, I think. So I don't have that problem anymore. And I haven't ever had it not at that house. So I don't know if it was also something that was there that was making me sleep different. I don't know. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, I have had sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fucking scary.
That's sleep paralysis. Yeah. Absolutely.
It was scary as shit.
So your story, not uncommon.
Right.
About 30% of the population experiences sleep paralysis at some point in their life.
Hey, I'm in that 30%.
You're in that 30%. And
Hell
look,
yeah.
it's like 1, 2, 3.
Oh, hey,
It's-
I am the 30% of
You're
this room.
the 30% of this room.
Neat.
Technically, you're
33.3 repeating, but yeah.
Yeah. The first time that we see documentation of sleep paralysis is 1664.
Oh,
A
that's longer ago than I thought.
Yeah. A Dutch doctor documented a patient's terrifying sleep paralysis. The patient felt as if the devil was lying on her chest.
Oof.
No.
And when she tried to like remove that pressure from her chest, she could not move. And so sleep paralysis. And so that was a Dutch doctor and his patient. But
Poor girl.
these kinds of stories pop up all around the world.
Yeah.
In Newfoundland, Canada, traditionally, it's called old hag syndrome because it feels like a witch-like creature is sitting on your chest.
That's really funny.
Nigerian tradition is a demon woman pounces on you in your dreams and renders you motionless. In Japan, sleep paralysis is explained as a spirit seeking vengeance by suffocating you in your sleep. Brazil, it is a roof-dwelling crone named, I'm going to probably butcher it,
Do your best.
Pisa Dera, who attacks those who sleep on their backs while their stomachs are full.
You
so
fucked.
if your full tummy sleeping on your back, she's fucking you up.
And that is the weird thing about mine is I was on my side because I don't sleep on my back.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my side.
Yeah.
So a little odd.
There isn't any
there isn't any rule about how sleep paralysis happens. It just
Right.
always seems to happen to people who are on their back and they have the heavy feeling on their chest.
Mm-hmm.
Not me though.
Culturally, like all of these different cultures, like everybody's got a different kind of whatever, but it can happen in any position, any whatever. There is a painting. It's going to be in our social media posts.
Cool.
Painted in 1781. It's called The Nightmare. Painted by a Swiss English artist.
Swish.
Henry Fuseli. A young woman sleeping sprawled on her back with a demon-like creature sitting on her chest. And
Horrifying.
also weirdly, just like a weird horse peeking his head in like through a curtain, being like, "What the fuck is going on in here? Hello?" The horse could also be a ghost. I don't know.
Ghost horse.
Ghost horse, because it's painted similarly to the demon on her chest, but it just looks like a horse that is going, "The fuck?"
I wonder if it's the demon's ride.
Maybe.
Like that's how he got there.
Maybe that's how we got there.
Didn't call an Uber, called a horse.
Yeah. In Egypt, sleep paralysis is often caused by a genie or a jinn. And they terrorize their victims and sometimes kill you.
Great.
In Italy, it's interpreted as panda fece.
Panda fetchy?
Yep. That's exactly how it's spelled.
Oh.
Pandafeche.
It's definitely panda, not panda.
Panda fece.
Fetch.
Fetche.
Fettuccine.
Fettuccine. Which is a terrifying witch, and she's got a giant cat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does the giant cat sit on you, and that's why you can't breathe?
Either the witch or the cat. Who knows? Oh, I remember what my point was earlier.
Great.
I think that probably the explanation for like why people's chests feel heavy and tight is they're having a panic attack.
That, I was going to also say, when you're sleeping, your breathing is different than normal.
Oh, yeah.
And your, like, chest does rise and fall differently and that kind of thing. So it's like, oh, if you're feeling like something's sitting on you, it's probably because you're feeling like your breath is constricted because you think you are awake.
Right.
And you are not awake. Your body is breathing as though you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And your heart rate is also probably slower than
Super
you are used
low
to being
compared
awake.
to, yeah.
So you're like,
I'm dying.
and then that causes you to have a panic attack, and then your chest gets heavy, and then you die.
No,
No.
nobody
You
has,
don't die.
nobody has
died
ever
from sleep
died from
paralysis.
sleep paralysis.
Because you can't. It doesn't. It's just your body being silly.
Mm-hmm. In South Africa, people believe that it's caused by a type of black magic. And there are dwarf-like creatures that are messing with you.
Sarah loves a dwarf.
I do love a dwarf.
In Turkey, it is a spirit creature. The Danish people, though, are like culturally believe that it is stress manifesting in your life.
Oh.
And so it's completely different from a lot of the other cultural
Everyone
traditions.
else is like, you have spiritually been attacked.
Yeah, you're being attacked. This is scary. Fear. Nightmare. Nightmare.
Bad.
Nightmare. And the Danes are just like, you're probably really stressed. You need to just think about why you're so stressed. Why are you so stressed? Calm down.
Yeah.
And so if you, some researchers directly compared people in Egypt and people in Denmark to see what the differences between like sleep paralysis experiences were. And not only were like the experiences of sleep paralysis wildly different between the two, Danish people also experienced it way less compared to Egyptians because that fear element.
Right. They're just like, oh, if this happens, it just means I'm stressed out.
It
and
means
I
I'm
need to,
stressed
like,
out. I need to
I need
reassess.
to figure out what that's about.
And in Egypt, it is like, no, I'm being tormented.
I'm being cursed and tormented by something horrible.
Yeah. And so the belief in whatever shapes the experience of
Right.
of the experience itself.
Right. We've
Like,
talked about this before. Belief in a thing makes it real.
Exactly. And so like if you
At least
believe
for that person.
if you believe sleep paralysis is a demon, it is a demon.
It's a demon for
It's
you.
a demon for you, and it like
It's going to
is
affect you
worse.
in the way that you think a demon is going to affect you.
Exactly. But Italians and Egyptians both experience higher levels of sleep paralysis than Danish people do, just because of the belief.
Right.
And it is a lot harder to deal with
Because of that.
because of those beliefs. So, symptoms of sleep paralysis. You cannot move, speak, or breathe properly. Hallucinations. The same kind of like hallucinations that you have like as you're falling asleep whenever you're like, oh my God, I'm so sleepy, and you're like falling asleep and you're
Yeah.
nodding off and you're like, oh my God, did I just see bugs on the wall?
Yeah.
That's a hallucination.
Right.
Hallucinations as you're waking up. That is also a symptom of sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Auditory hallucinations, smells, the sense of like pressure or heaviness on your chest, and also a feeling of being watched or touched, sometimes in a threatening or sexual manner, and fear. These are all symptoms of sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And so just because you think you feel that you have been touched while asleep, that does not necessarily mean there is any sort of haunting behavior. It could legitimately just be you're having sleep paralysis and your body is interpreting things while asleep and in this dreamlike state.
Right. It's like when your body legitimately thinks that you're falling in a dream and your whole body goes, and then you wake up.
Oh, do you know why your body does that?
Because it thinks you're dying.
Yeah, it thinks you're dying. Your heart rate lowered just a little too low, and so your brain goes, is the body still alive? And it goes, boom.
It goes, move everything.
Move everything at
Move
the same time.
Move everything right now.
And the brain goes, we're alive. It's fine.
Right, but it's that same kind of thing of like you were having some sort of sensation and then your whole body reacted to it.
Yeah.
It makes sense that sometimes your brain's going to imagine it got touched.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you touched your own self.
With your own hand.
Yeah, like...
Or you touched your blankie in your bed. You moved a little and a fold of your blanket touched your leg.
You touched your partner in your sleep. Like
right.
Their knee bumped into you and you go...
And your body goes, there's a fish.
A fish.
A fish. It's like when you're in the water and suddenly you go, something touched me.
Yeah.
It was that kind of sensation.
Yeah, it was grass.
Yeah.
That was a fish, though. It was a shark. It was a shark.
It's a shark in this
It's a
pond.
shark. It's going to eat me.
It's going to eat me.
It's 3 inches of water,
3
babe.
inches of water. You can see your toes.
Uh-huh. You're fine. But what increases rates of sleep paralysis?
Tell us.
Anxiety, yeah. If you have severe anxiety, if you have severe depression, that does increase the likelihood that you're going to experience sleep paralysis.
Crazy. So if you're anxious about experiencing sleep paralysis, you're going to experience sleep paralysis more.
Yeah.
Oops.
If you fall asleep intoxicated, if you have jobs that require like irregular sleep patterns, like shift work, students and student athletes, especially during times of stress. So like exam season's rolling around. There's a big game coming up. If you're stressed about something, that will increase the likelihood of you having sleep paralysis. PTSD. If you sleep on your back or have sleep apnea. So back sleepers are more likely to experience sleep paralysis, and that is probably why we have so many stories of something is sitting on my chest.
Right.
If you've been diagnosed with bipolar, a history of sleep paralysis, like in your family, jet lag can cause sleep paralysis, and then other sleeping disorders like narcolepsy. What decreases if you're having sleep paralysis and you would like to have less sleep paralysis? What do you do?
Exercise more.
I have this. I would like less, please.
Yeah, I would like less. Please, can you take some away? Good sleep hygiene. So, like, exercise. Avoid eating big meals before you go to bed. Limit alcohol and caffeinated beverages right before bed. Limit screen time. Regular sleep schedule. Keep your bedroom quiet and cool. Easy peasy. You can also do cognitive behavioral therapy, and go see a therapist. Go see somebody who can help with calming down, giving you structure to help you chill out, because anxiety and depression and PTSD and other mental health issues can exacerbate.
And you're not going to fix those by exercising or eating right. Or
Right. No.
Or doing good sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
You need help with those.
No amount of yoga is going to fix bipolar.
Right.
Sleep journaling. So, like, I went to bed at this time. I had dreams. I woke up at this time. Just, like, making notes. Or I went to sleep. I had sleep paralysis, and I saw this. I went back to sleep.
Right.
I woke up at this time.
Also, that's a good idea, even if you don't have sleep paralysis.
Right.
Just journaling your
sleep habits.
Keeping note of your sleep habits, and also writing down any dreams that you have, that kind of thing.
Yeah. If you write down your dreams and are being more cognizant about your dreams, you'll actually dream more.
Yeah.
Because your brain connects it to, oh, this is important. We're recording what we did last night. It's
We're
important.
recording that thing that I made up last night.
Right.
It's important.
So it's important.
It's
important. I should do more of that, and we're going to remember more of it too.
Yeah.
Meditation with muscle relaxation therapy. So just like, if you've ever done one of those meditations where it's like squeeze all of your muscles and then like one by one like relax muscles and like until you're slowly your whole body's relaxed.
Yeah.
Things like that. Sedative antidepressants. And you can also do a sleep study, like with your local hospital or sleep doctors, and they can help figure out what's going on.
Right.
Let's talk about the point where you should probably, like, if you're experiencing sleep paralysis, at what point should you involve a doctor? Because like if you've just had like a bout of sleep paralysis, you don't need to go to your doctor. Generally speaking, you're probably stressed. Take a breath, you're okay. But if it gets to the point where you're having symptoms of narcolepsy, you're having symptoms of sleep apnea, or your bouts of sleep paralysis are increasing, or you are having anxiety about the paralysis, and it's interrupting your day, it's interrupting your life, it's interrupting your ability to sleep.
Right.
At that point, see a doctor. If any one of those 4 points is met, you should see a doctor. So, now that we've talked a lot about sleep paralysis, we're going to talk about the Hatman himself.
The Hatman.
The Hatman. So we're going to start with a description.
He's a man with a hat.
He's a man with a hat. Normally dark figure. Anywhere between 6 and 10 feet tall.
He's big.
Everybody has different reports of like how big he is, how tall he is. His eyes are either a bright red glowing eyes, or like void holes in his face. Some people claim he carries a golden pocket watch, or he is very like misty. You can see through him. He's just like a shadow figure, rather than like there's a person in my room. It's like there is a odd shadow standing in my room
With a hat.
with a hat. But pretty much unifying all of these sightings, experiences, whatever you want to call them, a trench coat like jacket and a very noticeable hat. So
All three of these hats would be noticeable hats.
all three of these hats are a
I
noticeable
think it's
hat.
usually more like a bowler hat.
In my
or like Sarah's
shirt,
hat.
he has like a. It's not a cowboy hat, but it's
It looks
got
like
that
a
kinda
fedora.
yeah, it's got a big old brim.
It's
Yeah.
usually a wide brimmed hat.
Yeah, it's not normally like a baseball cap.
No,
It is
it's a hat.
It is a hat with a brim that goes all the way around.
Right.
But
Man's got
Yeah.
a hat on.
a top hat or fedora, trench coat, 6 to 10 feet tall.
And you usually can't make out very much other feature besides the hat and the eyes.
And the scary eyes.
Yeah, scary eyes, and for whatever reason, some people see a golden pocket watch.
And a hat.
The
Most
hat-
importantly,
hat.
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 Hat is the important part because
that's
it's
what he's named after.
the Hat Man.
He's the Hat Man.
It's a man with a hat on.
But I'm saying, like, you usually can't make out a nose or a mouth.
No,
Like,
you
you're
can't see other facial
You're
features.
seeing eyeballs and hat.
Mm-hmm. And so I was not able to nail down when exactly on the internet we first see
The origin of
the origin of the Hat Man. But there is some theorizing of what could have been the impetus of the Hat Man.
Okay.
We talked about this earlier, not on the podcast. Freddy Krueger.
Oh my God, he does have a hat.
He's a hat. He appears in your dreams. He's a scary guy.
And he wears like a fedora.
Yeah, he wears a fedora.
Sarah hates everything right now.
I am no longer in the Hat Man fan club.
Oh no!
I'm taking my hat off. I'm gonna change shirts.
Oh,
You're not in the Hat Man fan fam?
I'm not in the Hat Man fan fam. I'm so scared of Freddy Krueger.
it's not that the Hat Man is Freddy Krueger.
No, I know. It's that's what in.
Yeah, it's the cultural idea of Freddy Krueger is the shape of the thing that you see in your dreams that is scary.
You know what's really funny?
Hmm.
My sleep paralysis guy. Every time I was like, "That's a pirate."
A pirate?
He was a pirate.
Did he have a hat?
No,
No.
he had a eye patch.
Sick.
Yeah.
Hell
Also, he
yeah.
was a pile of clothes
Yeah.
that then became a man and then walked towards me.
It's a pirate though.
But a pirate, which is funny because I'm not scared of pirates. Like,
No.
Since I was a tiny child, I was like, I'm gonna be a pirate. So I don't know. It was scary because I was like, there's a man in my room.
Yeah.
But not the fact that he was a pirate. But I always was like, I saw a scary pirate in my dream.
Weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
But also,
I had a recurring
did not have a hat.
ghost pirate ship dream attacking my house when I was about 7 or 8.
I wish I had ghost pirate dreams.
You did not want this ghost pirate dream. They were
Mine
like,
wasn't interesting. He just got up. He was a pile of clothes. He got up.
And he walked
towards
towards
me. I fell back asleep.
Right. But like everybody else is, I'm the odd one out. I haven't had a ghost pirate dream. So you ufologists
Right.
often have their own theory about Hatman. They think that the Hatman is an extraterrestrial and that Hatman sightings and sleep paralysis that involve the Hatman are abduction,
Well, their visitation experiences.
yeah, visitation abduction experiences. And that especially because a lot of the reports of Hatman are Hatman just standing and observing.
Right.
Normally from like the doorway or from either side of a doorway or a corner, just
Right.
kind of standing and observing. And so generally non-threatening other than what the fuck is
Get out
that?
of my room.
But a lot of people report seeing the Hatman after traumatic experiences. And so it's almost like stress has induced sleep paralysis. And your cultural idea of a sleep paralysis demon is the Hatman.
Right. So that's what you see.
That is what you see. And then also, lots of people talk about the Hatman in conjunction with sleep aids, specifically things like Benadryl.
Right.
And like allergy meds. That is where a lot of like the joking around on social media comes in.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna drink a bottle of NyQuil and meet the Hatman.
Right.
Like.
Yeah. And so even things like that and like the belief of, oh, if I have Benadryl, if I have NyQuil or whatever, I'm going to see the Hatman.
Right. Guess what? You're gonna see the Hatman.
Guess what? You're going to see it. And so behaviorally, the Hatman stands around, is very much just kind of observing. He doesn't try to touch you, attack you, sit on you, whatever. He just stands in the corner watching. Often has very ghost-like activities where it's like, what's going on? And then he disappears. But people have reported seeing him in the daylight and like physically bumping into him, and then he just kind of disappears. But that feels different than the rest of these sightings.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to find any reports of those.
Just people say.
People say, yeah. And so
Hearsay shenanigans. But unlike some ghosts, you can't really see Hatman's facial features. Like normally it is just eyes, and you're like, where's the rest of you? Right, and it's also more than you can see on a regular shadow figure.
Yeah.
He like operates in a weird between space between like an apparition and a shadow figure.
Right. And so most of the time, the scareder you get, the longer he stays there. And so you get stuck into a like a
You're in a hate
spiral.
loop. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hate this. Oh, he's gonna stay longer. Oh, I hate this. Oh no. But yeah, people who believe in the Hatman, it like as a like entity, believe that like he's like feeding off of fear, and so the more you get scared, the longer he's gonna stay there and be like, tasty fear.
A tasty little snack for the Hatman.
Right. And so I have a handful of stories. These are all first person. People have submitted these stories in different places. The first one is from Reddit. And then the rest of them are from
the Hatman himself, he wrote in?
Yeah. No, from a Hatman specific website that like you can go I will make sure that the link is in
Oh my god.
some part of the like posting of the episode or on our social medias, so you can go, and if you have seen the Hatman, you can make a reporting and you can tell
Right in to that website.
Right
and
in,
also to us.
because he's writing a book. He's writing a book about the Hatman. And so it's a pretty cool website. He doesn't have a ton of reports, but all of the reports on there are pretty interesting. And so even if you're just interested, you should go and like read reports because they're pretty neat. So the first one from Reddit. In my personal experience with sleep paralysis, I have seen all manner of things. A bunny hopping across the floor. Adorable.
Oh, that's cute.
Right? An old school colleague crouched like a gargoyle at the foot of my bed. Unsettling.
Hate that.
I love their editorial comments.
Yeah, they're in
Adorable.
they're in parentheses.
Unsettling,
It's
yeah.
very funny. One memorable occasion, the witch from The Conjuring. Oddly unaffecting. Yeah.
Oddly, that one didn't bother me.
Oddly, she was fine. She was just like kind of weird. I was just like, okay, great, whatever. All these appeared to me in strikingly vivid detail, but the Hatman was like nothing else. The sheer, cold-sweating terror of the sight of him pales in comparison to everything else. Even just talking about him now gives me a creeping sense of unease. I'm neither a scientist nor a paranormal expert, so I can hardly say for certain what I saw that night. Was it a deep-seated fear of the unknown playing tricks on my brain? A brush with something terrible and hungry? All I know is that I'm far from the only person who's been frozen beneath the watchful gaze of his haunting figure. Spooky.
No
Horrible.
Yeah.
Me no likey.
And so now we're going to get to the ones from the Hatman
The Hatman website.
website. And I included the dates that they were posted.
Okay.
But they or the month and year that they were posted. They were all from the past 2 years. But it seems like they get batch uploaded
Right.
to the site whenever the
Right.
guy running the site goes through his email and like reads all the stories and goes, okay, this is posted. And he also does a really good job at anonymizing things.
Oh, good.
Because like one of the posts was like, please don't include my name. Please don't include my name. I'm so scared. Like I can't have people see this. Okay. So
But
February.
I have to share my story.
Right. Somebody has to know what happened. February 2024. I saw the shadow Hatman as a young child no older than 6. At the time, I shared a bed with my parents and slept on the edge closest to the bedroom door. Now, I can't tell you how many times I saw the Hatman, but it was certainly numerous and terrifying each time. Although all's Hatman would do is just stand in the doorway and stare. He had a long dark coat and a top hat with a green fog that rolled behind him. I would see him and be terrified as a young child to the point of waking my mother, to then only turn back and he was gone. I felt crazy, like I was losing my mind. Even as a kid, I knew I was awake. I would leave stuff a certain way to prove to myself I'm not just dreaming. I knew the difference. This was something else entirely. However, because it wasn't that he was there This was something else entirely. However, because it wasn't that he was there or that he would stare, I could feel the hatred he had for me. I could feel the harm he wanted to cause, but couldn't because he wasn't able to come in. So it sounds like he was standing on the other side of
He
the
was
doorway.
on the outside of the door.
Yeah.
Get wrecked, Hatman.
He was hanging out on the outside of the threshold.
Yeah, looking in. I remember once him pointing directly at me, frozen like a statue. I saw him often as a kid. What seemed to stop it, though, was after my mother told me about a dream she had where she was drawing crosses on all the doors and windows in the house using blood. Once his visits stopped, I just sort of put him out of mind, never talked about him or anything. But many, many, many years later, I had a conversation with my younger sister, and we were telling ghost stories we experienced, and then she told the story of how she also saw the Hatman and gave the exact description of what I saw. I had never, ever told her about before and had never heard her talk about it either. I was shook to say the least, and furthermore, when I found out others have seen him too, although no one has seen the green fog that we saw.
So
I don't like that he has special effects in this version.
Kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
He upped the drama
Yeah.
for this
So-
person. He was like, I'm bringing my fog machine.
Maybe
But it's also interesting that in the dream, she did that, and then the Hatman stopped.
for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. Because that was her mom's dream.
Her mom was doing that, and her mom did not believe that she was having this experience.
Exactly.
Or they. I don't know if we have a gender of this person.
I don't know either. I assumed lady, but I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know. The way that they talked about little sister
Yeah.
seemed like big sister energy.
Yeah.
But regardless, like they told their mom, this happened to me, and mom was like, you were dreaming, it's fine. And they were like,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't. And mom was like, yeah, you were. And then mom had a dream of painting the blood crosses,
Yeah.
and then the Hatman stopped for the child.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Great. Banana bread.
Absolutely banana bread. I wish we had some banana bread. I'm
Wouldn't that be
hungry
nice?
now. We
We have a snack.
We don't have any banana bread.
No. Another February 2024. First, before I tell this story, I like to keep my name anonymous for safety reasons. I was about 6 or 7 when I experienced this. I was in my house and my bedroom. My cat was at the doorway, I'm pretty sure. I was turned around and I just wanted to turn back around. And when I did, I froze. And when I looked up, I saw what can only be described as a black mist that quickly turned into a shadow. I couldn't see my cat anymore. And
Oh no, the cat.
the cat in the
and
mist.
when it went away, I started moving again, and my cat saw this thing and ran out of the room. And as soon as he did, I have never experienced anything ever again like that. I do believe that I've seen the Hatman, and the Hatman probably does exist. Again, keep my name anonymous. Thank you. Anyways, November 2023.
My wedding month.
Mackenzie's anniversary.
This has taken a long time for me to go public with. But I have been having a lot of synchronicities recently, which are guiding me to be more open about my experiences with the other side. After several emotional and physical traumatic incidents in my life,
Oh no.
I began noticing that my ESP was at an all-time high.
Extrasensory perception.
Mm-hmm.
Bah.
I found a therapist who was retired from the Air Force and specializes with patients with severe PTSD. He never directly told me he was involved in the program, but he alluded to Project Stargate many times in our sessions.
Oh my God.
He also seemed to just know things that he shouldn't know. He was by far the best psychic that I have ever encountered.
Men who stare at goats shit.
Yeah. He really helped me hone in on my skills in our sessions. I would actually go practice remote viewing sessions with him, where I would actually go to the place my loved one was so I could communicate with them telepathically. I can't tell you how many times, either during the session or immediately after, that person would contact me. During one of our hypnosis sessions, I drifted off in a very heavy meditative state, and I confronted the Hatman. This is the story of my original encounter with Hatman and my reunion with him 15 years later.
Oh, reunion.
I don't like that term. Please don't call it.
You're
a
not
reunion.
friends
You're
with
not
the Hat
buddies.
Man.
This one's a little odd.
This feels bad. I'm sorry. An Air Force therapist that has Project Stargate written all over it seems like he's still involved.
Maybe he's not involved, but he's definitely individually.
He's continuing experiments in a way that he shouldn't be, it sounds like.
Yeah,
As a therapist. That's
Yes.
not your job.
that's not your job.
You
as a
should-
Your job as a
therapist.
therapist is to
You
help
shouldn't
people.
be
Sure,
teaching
if
people
you're-
to remote.
So I get a therapist, like you seeking out a therapist that you're like, hey, I think that I have like some powerful psychic ability and I'm having some issues with PTSD and some other stuff. And, you know, if you bring that up in a session and a therapist is like, oh, is that something that's like important to you?
Yeah.
And using that and like using hypnosis, if hypnosis is something that you believe in, is very common in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand doing that kind of thing. And even using remote viewing as a way of like doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's like, they are retired Air Force. Like, they're like, he's retired Air Force. I think he was part of Project Stargate. Now we're doing remote viewing and therapy. That seems sketchy.
That seems weird.
That's very odd,
Yeah.
at least.
Me no likey.
Like, even if it is purely with good intention and it's one of those, like, these are skills that I gained from my previous life
right.
that I now can bring over into this job where I'm trying to help people.
Yeah.
It's still, the fact that that was specifically mentioned does make me feel kind of odd about it.
Yeah.
And the use of the word reunion.
Yeah.
I know we're not done, but
You know, I think that at least with the description of the way remote viewing is being used in their sessions, I think it sounds interesting, and I think there could be some sort of viability to it because it's
right.
It's maybe even if it's not like remote viewing, and it's just like imagining having conversation with friend that you're having an issue with, and then
Right.
they text you afterwards.
Right.
And like even just that, like yeah, that's helpful and that's therapeutic and like that is helpful. But like I don't know, like the depth of like yeah, we're doing remote viewing.
We're doing remote viewing, and now you're going to confront the Hat Man.
Yeah,
In therapy.
in therapy.
Confront followed by reunion.
are two very odd choices
don't
of words.
like
Yeah.
that.
So we're gonna get into the rest of the story.
Yes, hit us with the confrontation of Hat Man.
Flashback to when I was 16, when I had my first encounter with Hatman. My brother was away at college, and I would sleep in his room when he was away because the window into his room was the easiest for my girlfriend to sneak into at night.
Uh-huh.
She was with me that night when I drifted off into a very deep sleep. When I woke up in the early morning is when I had my experience with the Hatman. It was the classic sleep paralysis case. and the first time I had ever experienced sleep paralysis too. So I had no clue what was happening to me and why, no matter how loud I tried to scream or how hard I tried to move, nothing happened. The only thing I could do is move my eyes. Suddenly, the door opened by itself, and into the room floated a corncob pipe. And as I looked to my side,
snowman.
as I looked to my side to see if my girlfriend was still in bed with me, she was. I looked back and saw the dark silhouette of a man in a trench coat and a top hat. And even though I couldn't make out any distinguishing characteristics of his face, I somehow could see and feel him just observing me. I could feel him sort of chuckling or laughing, and then he began to fade away. The pipe floated back out of the room, and then I was finally able to move. I swung my arm over to grab my girlfriend, but she was gone. She had left me a note that she snuck out to her house earlier that morning, and she tried to wake me up, but I was in an intensely deep sleep. And so that's
the OG.
That's the OG story.
Okay.
That's the original Hatman encounter.
That's the 16-year-old
person.
encounter.
Yeah. So now, fast forward to recent times, as I'm working with this therapist on all the shadow figures that I see in my dreams and meditation. He guides me through a meditation/hypnosis in which I actually confront the Hatman. The scenery is black and gray, almost like a rundown boardwalk ghost town. Boardwalk, yeah. And I say boardwalk because I literally walked down a pier over an ocean of boiling red to meet him. We did not talk with spoken words, but we did somehow communicate telepathically. And the identity that he presented himself to me as was my agent, in quotation marks. I asked if he was there to cause me harm, and he said no. I asked if he was there to help me. He also just said no. The feeling
I'm here.
The feeling I got was that he was simply there to make sure I am following through on some kind of plan or deal. When I asked for the specifics of that plan, all he communicated to me was that I agreed to it, and he was there to make sure that I carried it out. He was not a good presence, not an evil presence, but just a presence. I almost got the feeling that he is a dark worker, but not completely evil. He is just here to observe and maintain the dark side of duality, or the yin, whether we choose to accept it or not is part of our reality in this life. I had to experience many dark shadow figures in my meditations and dreams before, but every time I felt like they were lost souls. This Hatman almost gave me the feeling that he was a being or energy that was in charge of maintaining those lost souls. Perhaps he makes deals with them to break them free, or he is the force that makes these souls lost/dark. But to that degree, I am not certain. Anyway, I used this experience to change my outlook on the Hatman. He does not frighten me like he used to. And while I still don't know exactly who he is or his exact purpose, I feel like I understand him/it a little better, and that force is no longer a villain in my perception. I believe part of my purpose on this earth is to help bridge the known and the unknown, and to help preserve this great mystery. I live a very spiritual life and am a member of the Rosicrucians. Rosicrucians?
I think that's a cult.
Look it up.
Continue.
It's Rosicrucians, but
While I have had some attachments to these shadow entities, I have also seemed to be a magnet for light beings. I am someone who has displayed the hitchhiker effect, and I have countless encounters with the beautiful light orbs at night. I consider myself a light worker, and I believe the light is what helps me not fear the dark. The dark is there for a reason, but we must not let it corrupt or control our lives.
all right.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's kind of woo-woo. It's kind of interesting, though.
So Rosicrucians they're not a cult. It's a spiritualist, esoteric organization
I see.
that came about. It was started in Germany, and then
Oh.
it exists here now. I always combine them in my head with one of the like 70s cults that were the like overall bikes cult. I don't remember what that cult is called, but my brain always is like, those are the Rosicrucians. They're not.
No
Rosicrucians.
idea. Cool. Okay, another November 2023.
Amazing.
Last night, my night terror once again scared the shit out of me. Since childhood, I have experienced this man and always tried to explain that I believe someone is following me without me looking crazy. This Hatman has stuck with me because in 2010, a black entity, I called him the Black Man, appeared in my mind or vision and told me to slit my husband's throat.
What?
At that time, I was going through many family issues, and my father just got caught having an affair. The following day, I had a nervous breakdown and went into a catatonic state, and my husband had no choice but to commit me to a mental ward to receive care. I am 42 years old and have seen this Hatman and Black Shadow people who come and go for a long time. When they do come, they cause me fear. The Hatman stuck in my right brain because for some reason he must have affected me and my life. I have dealt with these beings for so long, and I have not thought to Google this because I always brushed it off, thinking it is sleep paralysis since this is the answer I got from doctors. I tried to explain to people and my husband without sounding crazy, but they did not seem to understand. After last night, I decided to see if Google could give me answers and came across your website. When the Black Shadow Man or Hatman visits me, they put more fear in me and in my sleep or visions. I try to reach for help but am immobilized. I do not understand the specifics of my life. They come to me and never to my husband. For one, I already had a breakdown and battled with recovering from the aftermath of psychosis and getting my mental health under control for many years. You can say this. Hatman has much to do with the beginning of my breakdown. Now my life is beginning to flourish, but once in a while they visit, and I don't know who they are, what they want, or why they often hurt me or cause fear in my sleep. The Hatman or Black Shadow visits are surreal and put enough fear in me to stick with me till the next day or days. I am glad I am not the only one, because to be honest, they often hurt me and I don't even know why.
Hate that too.
That very much just sounds like somebody who's having mental health crisis and sleep paralysis.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Like that one is like, I had a bunch of shit going down in my family, and my dad got caught having an affair, and I was having other mental health crises.
Mm-hmm.
I was committed for my mental health crises, and then the Hatman showed up.
Yep.
It's like,
Huh. It's almost like...
But tell me I'm not crazy.
Right.
And then the Hatman showed up.
Because that one is, I think, the only one in here that says that the Hatman hurts this person.
Right.
Which is not
what the Hatman does.
What Hatman does.
Right.
November 2023 again. I was born in 1959 and raised by a single mother with one sibling. Unfortunately, our little home of 3 was filled with depression, physical abuse, anger, and neglect. As a young girl, I didn't understand what was happening in our household. Sometime in the mid to late 60s, I started noticing a figure behind my door at night. I was very young and lived in constant fear. To alleviate my worries, I slept with my door open, so I would only see the figure's shoulders and above. He was very tall and wore a top hat similar to Abraham Lincoln. I gave him the name Abraham, and he was a pure black, shadowy figure with no facial features. Despite his eerie appearance, I didn't feel afraid of him. Instead, I felt as though he was watching over me, possibly protecting me or giving me a sense of security. He visited me at night for many years, though I can't remember exactly when he stopped showing up. I never told anybody about him until recently when I started grief therapy. In one session, I mentioned Abraham and the vivid memories I still have and was surprised when my therapist validated his existence as the Hatman. After researching more about the Hatman, I came across this website and felt compelled to share my story. Thank you for providing a platform for others to share their experiences and validate that it was indeed a real phenomenon. It may seem crazy, but it was my reality.
That one is very Hatman.
Yeah.
That one fits all the classic.
Right, and it's like, oh, it would be behind the door, so they would open the door
To hide
it behind the door, and they could just see the top of him sticking up over the door.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Crazy. That one's like very chill and normal. And
Yeah.
they went to their therapist and were like, I also used to see this thing as a kid.
Yeah.
And the therapist was like, yeah, that's
Oh, the Hatman.
That's the Hatman. People see that. And it's like, oh.
Crazy.
I'm not crazy.
I really like in that one specifically, I like the comfort aspect of that. Mm-hmm. Where she was like, I don't know, it felt like somebody was protecting me. Especially with her description of like her house being a chaotic
Right.
bad
It was
place.
like she was experiencing so much stress.
Yeah.
As a youth.
And was able to take comfort in, well, the Hatman is watching. Abraham is taking care of me.
Someone's watching over me. And that connection of like, oh, it's like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
That's the least scary person
Especially,
I could be.
yeah. Because like she was seeing this in the 60s.
Right.
And so her like the concept of Hatman as we know him today did not exist then. And so she was like, yeah, it's like fucking Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a
really
top hat
tall
on.
guy with a hat.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Okay. We have 2 more stories.
Great.
December 2023. I randomly looked up this topic. One of my great-grandmothers on my mom's side, my mother's mother's mother, would occasionally see a tall, thin man with a beard wearing a stovepipe hat.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. She stated that his clothing style and personal appearance reminded him of Abraham Lincoln's time period.
Called it.
She would wake up to him standing at the bottom of her bed and pulling on the blanket. My father, on several occasions, saw what he said was a man in a hat walking through the house or the yard. He saw this figure at my house one time, too.
This sounds more apparition, less Hatman.
Yeah, that doesn't...
It is a man with a hat.
It's a man in a hat, but I don't know if it is the Hatman.
Yeah.
Because this is more like, oh, he's doing stuff.
He's doing stuff. He's walking around.
And the other one that, like, the woman was like, oh, he's hurting me.
Right.
Is also not very, like...
That's not
It's a man in a
Hatman.
hat, but is it Hatman?
Right. Another December 2023. I was 8 years old, 1988, Bogota, Colombia. Bogota, Colombia. I saw him the same way many others have. I was playing in the living room of my house, and he appeared in the window outside of...
That's not the way many others have.
outside in the window outside in the patio. He was wearing a big hat and had bright red eyes. He looked at me. It was an unforgettable terror. I could only scream and run. I know 2 other people who say they saw this figure with the hat and red eyes and that they were not sleeping. It is not an apparition from a dream.
When was that? Does it have a year?
1988.
Okay. I was going to say, that's just Mothman. That's just Mothman with a hat. That's just Mothman with a hat.
Mothman was wearing a hat?
Mothman got a hat.
Oh, my God.
I went to Colombia.
So there are different theories. He's a shade, a shadow person, alien, sleep paralysis, hallucination, the devil, and just like an influence of pop culture on people's brains.
The devil and like maybe just pop culture.
Yeah. So what are y'all's thoughts? What do you think the Hatman is? What do you think the Hatman is not?
I do think that the Hatman is probably just a sleep paralysis hallucination, right?
I think the other varieties that people are seeing are different.
I think they're different things, but my
else.
thing is, I do think that it's intriguing that so many people are experiencing the same phenomena in their sleep paralysis before the movie came out, right? Like it's like the I don't remember if this is real or if it was in a TV show or if it was an Onion article. But there's the picture of the man's face that says, "Have you seen this man?" And it's like a face that a bunch of people have dreamed about.
Huh.
and I don't remember if it's real or not. While Mackenzie's saying what she thinks, I'll Google it. But it's like this weird concept of like so many people have dreamed of this same face.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, right? Like that's significant in some way. Why are our brains all making up this same face?
Yeah.
So because it's something that happens primarily during sleep, right?
Mhm.
Like I think that the Hatman phenomena, to be part of that phenomena, has to happen when you're asleep.
Yeah.
If you're not sleeping, it's not
It's
the
not
Hatman.
the
It's something
Hatman.
else.
Yeah.
It
It's
could
something
be a
else with
ghost
that
in a
same
hat.
shape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has the same shape, but I don't think it is part of this phenomena. I still think that that's interesting because it's like, that's really odd that so many people are having this same thing. They're
Yeah.
seeing a big, tall man in a hat, in a coat, no features except for eyeballs, and that's not always, but like if you see any features, it's eyes, which is significant because eyes are the windows to the soul and blah, blah, blah. Like we're seeing a thing that is also seeing us.
Yeah.
That's kind of, uncanny valley. It's also dark, and people are scared of the dark because what's in the dark, it's the unknown. So that whole like concept is very intriguing.
Yeah.
I do believe that he's just a sleep paralysis hallucination. I unfortunately don't think that there's anything like he is not an apparition. He is not a ghost. I don't think he's an ultra-terrestrial, but I do think it's a weird latent thing in our brains that we're all seeing this same thing.
Yeah.
And that's really odd.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, what's your idea? I'm going to Google have you seen this man?
I agree that I don't think the Hatman is an entity in and of itself. I think it's a hallucination because majority of the stories that you hear of the Hatman doesn't do anything to you. He just looms. He just stands there and scares you. Sleep paralysis demons generally just stand there and scare you.
Right.
Like
Or sit on you.
Or sit on you. Like they're not the intent is not to harm or not physically harm, maybe emotionally harm, but like but beyond that one story that you read, and I think that person has other issues or maybe some other kind of attachment if they're having harm done to them in their sleep. I think there's a different attachment happening.
Right.
That could be more demonic in nature, could be some kind of evil attachment.
Go listen to the hauntings episode if you have more questions.
I don't think that specific person, it may be something else disguising themselves as the Hatman.
Yeah.
But I don't think that person is experiencing the Hatman as the Hatman is. I think part of the reason people see the Hatman, whether they really know the lore of it or not, is because it is perpetuated in modern culture on social media.
Yeah.
In that kind of urban legend realm of like, even if you don't really know what that means, you know enough in the back of your head about it that your brain is able to conjure that kind of image.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's even, and I think even in the last couple stories you told where it was like in the 80s and whatever, and it's like, I saw this but I wasn't sleeping. That's a different apparition.
Yeah.
Right.
You can have other black hatted, red-eyed.
It's Mothman. It's Mothman with a hat.
Yeah.
Apparitions, again, something disguising itself as another form of lore to accomplish whatever goal it has.
Right.
So I agree with Sarah in that I think if it's Hatman, you are sleeping.
Right.
It is not causing you harm. It's
looming.
It's just hanging out.
Looming.
Scaring the crap
think,
out of you.
I do think the one with the green smoke was still Hatman.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
Hatman just brought his fog machine.
Yeah. You said that's Mothman with hat. He could just have his antennas like.
Oh, right. His
out.
antennas are just sideways. And
His
that's the brim.
antennas are just sideways, and that looks like the brim of the hat.
The brim of hat. I found the thing that I was talking about. So for anyone else who's heard of the Have You Dreamed This Man, it was apparently a conceptual art project and hoax created by an Italian sociologist and marketer.
Interesting.
So this is the man for you guys.
I don't like him at all.
Right. But apparently a very, very brief thing, because I was like, I remember seeing this online.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I've never dreamed of that man. According to the website, which came into being in 2008, the first reported dream of this man was a patient of a psychiatrist in New York City in 2006. And then 4 other patients of the same psychiatrist also recognized the face because it was on, like, they had, drawn the sketch, and then the psychiatrist was like, that's really weird, and put it up on the wall in their office. And then other patients were like, I've had dreams about that. Who is that? The website ended up receiving over 9,000 accounts from people who claimed to have encountered this man in their dreams, sharing stories and drawings. Various theories were proposed to explain the man's appearance, ranging from mundane to supernatural. None of them were substantiated by evidence or investigation, and in 2010, the artist revealed that the site was a hoax and part of a marketing campaign. So it's not real, but it is still interesting that, like, that concept of, in our dreams, we all are creating the same face. We're all creating the same thing, like, was in the public consciousness in 2008.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll tell you right now, there is a guy that grew up, that as I was growing up, like, went to my church that looks almost exactly like that.
Right.
And so, like, that is a face. It is
right.
A face.
It's a face. It's a human face.
It's a human face. And people will be like, yeah, no, I've seen that face before. I can't place exactly who that is because it's not like, oh, that's my friend, Dawn.
Right. It's my friend Jim Bob. It's like, no, that's just, it's a guy who I've seen once.
Right. And so it could be attributed to, like, yeah, I've seen that man in my dreams.
Right.
And you have now...
You've seen him in real life.
Yeah.
But my thing of that is like, that concept, like, this was a hoax perpetuated by a marketing director. But that concept of, our brains somehow have some little bit of information in them that we're all dreaming this same kind of thing exists, right? And it's like, the Hatman.
The Hatman.
He's the thing that we're all dreaming that's the same.
Yeah.
But we're not all dreaming it.
No.
But a number of us are.
Exactly.
Right. And again, I had weird man sleep paralysis, but he got up and moved, which the Hatman typically just stands still.
Yeah.
My guy had a bunch of features and no hat.
No hat. And he was
Not
pirate.
Hatman.
He had
He was a pirate.
eye patch.
He had eye patch. And maybe a peg leg, but I don't remember for sure. I'm not going to, like...
Baby born with peg leg?
Baby born with peg leg. It's on our wall. It's a Weekly World News article.
I think that's all we need to know about the Hatman.
I also think that's everything we need to know about the Hatman.
We'll see you next week for something new.
Something fun and silly.
Thanks for listening.
This podcast is for weirdos.
Are you a weirdo?
Thursdays are for the phenomena.